FFH began back in 1991. At the time it was four guys, and we were all still in high school. We are now in our mid-30s, which tells you how long ago that was. And for the first 7 years we traveled around Pennsylvania as an independent band, just playing and singing wherever and whenever we could.
Well, I met Jeremy in '94, and we started dating, and then we got married in '95. After that, I traveled with the band, and I sold merchandise and ran sound and whatever. I think it was '96 that one of the guys left and I took his place.
Our first national release on Essential Records came out in 1998 as Far From Home. Finally, in about 2006, things had just gotten too much for us on the road.
I think all of us were really tired and just needing to have some time off and time away from each other and time to be just our own families and our own lives. And it had been way too much time on the road and we needed a break.
6 months later, we played our last concert as FFH before the break, which ended up being 2 years.
And then Jeremy and I, on October 1st of that year of '06, went to South Africa for 6 months. And just rested and worked at a little church and enjoyed being a family.
I may seem insane for leaving it all behind.
We sort of had this list of things that had to happen in order for us to be able to go back to FFH. I mean, things that involved our marriage and our family and how we did what we did. And you have to understand, these things were virtually impossible. I mean, they were like impossibilities, and we sort of joked about it. We're like, we would definitely go back to it if this happened or this happened. And, over the next 18 months being home, the Lord did that stuff. When we moved to Africa and we got to see hurting people and poor people so close to us every day, we would pass hundreds of people on the street, not hungry and starving, but just people looking for work, looking for a ride, looking for help. And it was really, really eye-opening. And so one of the things on the list for Jennifer and me was, look, God, you got to give us a way, if we do this again, to be able to funnel not just money, but also resources to the people that we met in South Africa.
We wanted to help our friends in Zimbabwe. We wanted to draw attention to that, and this was the only outlet we have, our only platform that we have. And so we wanted to take advantage of it.
And so, just as God would do, He did the impossible. He introduced us to this organization called the Mocha Club, which finds these small places in Africa and goes in there and meets their needs and helps in resources in orphan care and digging wells and all that stuff. And so now through the Mocha Club and through FFH, the Mocha Club FFH site, we can encourage people to give. And it just, it has really been a huge blessing to us to be able to do that. But one of the things on the list was we can no longer go on with living separate lives where we have a home life where we're home with our kids and we have this road life where we leave the kids at home and it's Jennifer and me out there on the road. And we said it's got to be the same thing. It's got to be one life. When we go out on the road, we take our kids with us.
We take them every time we go. Hutch really has a good time, and he likes to help tear down and set up stuff and the merchandise and the sound equipment, so that's fun for him.
Brian, our drummer, and I married sisters, so Jennifer's sister Janelle comes along sometimes with their baby. Our guitar player is married to our road manager, and so she's out with us and she's with her husband, and it is a mess a lot of times, but it's this great, glorious mess because we have our kids there.
I want your best, but what if your best is brokenness? Would I be...
In the midst of that, between moving home from South Africa and having Sadie Claire in October, during that 6-month span of being home, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And so that was just another thing that sort of slowed us down even more. And so we took some time for me to figure out what treatment I was going to get on, and I waited for a clinical trial to be available here.
I think for me it was a lot more scary because I couldn't tell what was going on or when he was having pain. Even now, he doesn't tell me all the time because he knows it freaks me out. To me, MS was scary because I had seen people have it before, and a friend of mine growing up, her mom had it, and I'd seen the shape she was in. It just scared me, the whole thought of it. And so I still think I handle it differently all the time. I mean, obviously haven't dealt with it all the way. It's just a process, that we constantly go through.
Then Sadie Claire was born. I was sort of getting used to life, getting used to just saying to myself, I have multiple sclerosis. And then at the end of 2008, we started to feel like it was time. It was time to get back out on the road. It was time to, begin to tell about our journey again. So February of 2009, we played our first show after 2 years of being away. And it felt like home.
So this is what it feels like to walk the desert sand.
Well, What It Feels Like to Be Led, actually just What It Feels Like is the name of the single, is a very personal, look into the past 2 or 3 years for me. In a 2-year span, actually more like a 1-year span, my family left everything we knew. Our record company, our home, our families here, our management. We moved to Africa. We came back, didn't really have a job. I was diagnosed with MS. We had a baby. I mean, all this stuff happened at one time, and we just felt like the Lord called us out into the desert. But the Bible says that when He lures us into the desert, He meets us there. And He did that for us. And so What It Feels Like is kind of our way of saying what it felt like to us.
I love whenever you hear a song that someone has written and you can tell that they're being very vulnerable, and this song is definitely that. I just love it. I love the message of it, and I mean, it's just exactly where we've been in the past couple years.
Come undone, surrender is stronger.
In the past, we have made record after record after record on sort of an 18-month or year-and-a-half schedule, sort of at the beck and call of the record company, and we would make these albums, and then we would release them, and then we would go tour them. And while we're touring, album A, we're writing for album B, and when it came time to make album B, we only had, 10 or 15 songs to choose from because we were on the road the whole time. Well, the Lord led us into this very open place over the past 2 or 3 years, and so this time, Jennifer and I were able to not only pick songs that were really heartfelt to us, we were able to pick from about 50 songs. And so the album doesn't really have a theme, it's just songs that mean the most to us right now. I guess I don't want to be any more artsy about it. These are our favorite songs right now. I mean, some of them were written in South Africa, some of them were written when we got back, some of them have to do with our marriage, some of them have to do with our kids.
I think they're way different, but still, I mean, they're still FFH because they're Jeremy singing or me singing, and so that's always going to kind of sound like FFH. Still a lot of vocals, and yeah. I think it's more vulnerable lyrics, though, more personal.